Morning, folks. Councilman Rasmussen here, coming to you with my update from our town council meeting on December 4th, Monday, December 4th. So start off with the things from the town tidbits and the upcoming sort of stuff. Quite a lot of stuff happening in the next week or so for holiday celebrations and all that kind of goodness. I know Councilwoman Gott and some other folks have been working very hard on a lot of different fun events. So hopefully you can get out and attend some of these. The Holiday of Hope event, which is going to be sort of like caroling on Market Street Plaza, is coming up. It's going to be this Sunday. There's a number of different things that are going on throughout the course of the day. This is sort of the culmination of them. It's going to start around 6 o'clock. There'll be a tree lighting ceremony. Homestead Gardens is donating a tree for it. There will be caroling. They'll have, I think as Tabby described it, they're going to have like big signs with the words on them, so almost like karaoke. But you don't have to know any of the words, and you can show up and enjoy and sing. And I think Tabby's just really excited about singing "Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog." But that's a fun event going on this Sunday, the 10th, and it's going to be right downtown on Market Street Plaza. There's also right now going on at the public library. There's a Letters to Santa event. You can go in and write a letter to Santa, and there's a mailbox there for it. This Thursday, on the 7th, is from 5 to 8, the Smyrna Police Department has Cookies with Santa. You can head out and check that out a little bit. Also on Friday, there's Winter Games and Crafts. This is going on at the Smyrna Public Library. There'll be Operation Warm will be there giving out some coats. They're going to have more Letters to Santa games and crafts and stuff. So quite a bit of holiday themed stuff going on this week if you are looking to get out there with your kiddos and have a good time. Other updates as far as the holiday schedule for things that you want to keep in mind. The yard waste collection is still going on through next week. So if you've got things that you need to get out there, sticks or trimmings, or if you pulled out stuff I think we trimmed a bunch of mums this week, that kind of stuff needs to be out. The last yard waste collection day for the fall will be December 13th, and they'll be on a break until I think through March or so is when they'll be on break. Leaf collection will continue until the end of the month, until the 29th. So if you've got leaves that you need to rake out to the street, they will be coming around with a vac truck for another couple of weeks to pick those up. And then Christmas tree collection will start up just after Christmas on the 27th and go through January 19th. So those are your collection days. Remember, the holidays are coming up. There'll be some things happening. Both Christmas and New Year's are on Mondays. That will throw off the collection schedule for garbage and recycling. Typically, that delays everything by one pickup day. So if your day is normally Monday, it's going to be Tuesday and so on. And they usually work on Saturdays to pick up the Friday stuff. So just keep that in mind as you're planning for all of your holiday loot and garbage that unfortunately comes along with it. So those are some of the major updates. Actually, there's at least one more thing that was in the tidbits that I think is good for checking out. So going on, this is at Smyrna Cards and Gifts downtown. DMEC and the Efficiency Smart program. DMEC is our electric provider for the town. They have their 99-cent LED light bulb sale going on. So if you need to replace some of your lights and you want to put in high efficiency LED bulbs, you can go down. They've got them. They're 99 cents a piece. I think you're limited to 8 bulbs at a time. But if you have some lights and you want to save a little bit of money on your electric bill, go down there, grab some of those, and visit our friends down at Cards and Gifts while you're there. I think those are the major updates from the tidbits and some of the stuff happening in town staff. As far as our actual meeting last night, there weren't a ton of stuff. The meeting itself went relatively quickly. There's one big major item, which was we had our presentation for our draft master parks plan. This is a process that's actually started back in 2001. The town has, not since 2007, I believe, actually created a master parks plan or updated a master parks plan. This is important because as the town looks to make investments and changes or things in our parks, without a plan, you end up with a little bit of like a hodgepodge of different pieces. And sometimes you sort of end up putting something where you may regret having done it, years in the past or years in the future when there's an opportunity to do something else. So having a master parks plan is a tool that the town can use to help guide some of the investments that we're making in our parks, as well as go out and try and fundraise and acquire additional resources in order to invest in our parks. If you're going to go out for grants and things like that, they want to see that what you're asking for fits into an overall plan, a structure that the town has, and then that is designed with certain sort of growth and needs in mind. Some of these are really sort of straightforward things like, planning for where the best use of a field might be, or infrastructure for bathrooms and things where if you're making changes, you're making investments, it's really smart. Some of them are really, really big, tough things like access to parks. How do people actually get there? How do you encourage and support people who want to walk or ride their bikes to parks in your community? Some of those are really big and challenging things because we all know this. Smyrna is bisected by Route 13, a major corridor that creates a major traffic issue for people moving back and forth. So if you live on the east side of Route 13 right now, getting access to Smyrna Municipal Park means you pretty much have to drive there, right? Versus we're downtown. It's not the shortest walk, but we will walk or ride our bikes or our scooters over to the municipal park. But we don't have to cross Route 13 to do it. So when you're looking at a master parks plan, it's not just the parks, it's also access to the parks and how those parks are able to long-term fit into the needs and the growth of a community. This process went on it's been really 2 years worth of work to do this. There was a consulting company brought in that did community meetings. At the firehouse, we had a couple of them. They also met with folks at the middle schools and the high school to get input from younger folks in our community. A lot of back and forth with the town staff to figure out what is realistic and what is feasible. What are the other concerns, right? Sort of, we have pie in the sky, good idea. Well, maybe there's a very logical reason why that's actually not something that could work for an infrastructure reason or something like that. So that entire process has played out over the last 2 years, and last night we had a chance to have a presentation of that master parks plan, what the recommendations are, and they also included a phasing. So what are the things that would need to happen first to begin implementing this plan, because some things you have to do A before you can do B, before you can do C, kind of thing. It also puts in some of the, I don't want to call them low-hanging fruit, but some of the things that are maybe a little bit easier that you could undertake without having to make too many changes once you have a plan in place. Versus the things that are really, really large, maybe they're massive financial investments, or they're the kind of thing that could take years and years and years of coordination. So we have some of those areas. One of them that's on there is actually one that's going on right now, which is replacing the bathrooms in the municipal park with year-round accessible bathrooms. That's one piece of this. It's a small piece, but it's in that report. It's a good document. It will be shared up on the town website. I think we have a couple of small changes that we want to make to it, but eventually everyone will be able to access and see this master parks plan. And then the idea is that it helps us guide our investments in those parks. Last year we created, or actually earlier this year, we created an impact fee, a parks impact fee, which is for every new residential development unit that's going to be going in, for every home, it's going to generate around $3,800 or something like that in an impact fee. Over the next 10 years, that's potentially millions and millions of dollars, and we want to make sure that those impact fees are allocated appropriately to the parks in a smart way. That actually brings to one of our other agenda items that was on this week, which was we had a resolution. This is the first vote on a resolution just clarifying impact fees. I know I've mentioned them before. Our code, we collect a number of different impact fees in the town. Some of them are pass-through impact fees. So for instance, we collect an impact fee for the fire station, for the ambulance station, and for the school district whenever there's any construction project. That's really money that we collect, and then send straight back out to those entities to help address their capital needs. There are other impact fees that the town collects that we utilize to help fund our infrastructure. This would be water and sewer, this would be electric. Now it's parks, it's also public safety, so really the police. These are impact fees that as we collect them, we put them into a separate pot of money that then pays for capital needs associated with that. So you're not spending this on a salary, you're spending it on buying equipment or building something. That is what capital needs are defined as. We made a couple of changes to the code to further clarify that. Actually, something that should have been removed when we did the original change, we sort of realized it was duplicative. And then really clarifying that each one of those impact fees isn't intended to go into the general fund, that they should be held separately and utilized for that specific investment. Smart planning covers our butt to make sure that if we're collecting money for a park, it doesn't accidentally get spent on something else. We'll see that 3 times. It's an ordinance, so it will get 3 readings. We had the first of the readings last night. Another one of our items, this was an old business item. We got this started last council meeting. We had a public meeting, and then we passed a resolution to authorize the town to go out for an additional portion of a bond. This is a bond through the Delaware Department of Health and Social Services through their drinking water state revolving fund. The East Commerce Street project, which includes Locust Street and a lot of the work that's happening over there, that started a couple of years ago. I think no surprise, cost increases have kept going up. So the initial $1.8 million that project was going to undertake has grown quite a bit, and the scope of work has changed as we found more issues and made changes to that plan to better address some of the concerns that have come up along the way. We need to add on to the bond that we got from that to the tune of about another $800,000. So in the end, it'll make the bond something in that vicinity of $2.6 million to complete that project. So there's a whole process that we legally have to go through when we're doing a bond. A bond is, in essence, the town using its credit to sell debt. And in this case, it's a partnership with the state that allows us to do that. And we have to authorize a number of necessary actions. So it requires an action of the town council in order for that to move forward. So we passed that resolution last night to authorize the town to move forward with that bond issuance to complete that project. We did get a little bit of an update also last night on the Smyrna wastewater infrastructure questions that have come up around Locust Street specifically. This has been mentioned. There is an issue with hydrogen sulfide being released from one of the manhole covers on Locust Street. A couple of years ago, this is what led to a massive collapse of a number of the pipes over there and required a huge, very quick undertaking to replace some of the sewer lines. The issue is in replacing those lines, it moved further down. But what this is that as sewage dumps from a force main line that comes from the prison into our gravity-fed line that goes into the Kent County's pumping station, there is an issue with hydrogen sulfide, basically the smell, right? And it's actually bad for the pipes. It actually is what caused and rotted away a bunch of the pipes prematurely. So we've taken a bunch of steps, some of which are things like this infrastructure project that we're doing to replace the water in those sewer lines. But there's other pieces that really fall outside of the purview of the town, which is a relationship between Kent County and the Department of Corrections around the prison. So you have 3 different players here, and you've got a problem. And anytime you have something like that, it becomes tricky because there are contractual agreements that in some cases haven't been updated or even reviewed in decades, and questions about whose responsibility is what issue kind of thing. Unfortunately, it moves very slowly. So there was just a meeting with the Department of Corrections. There'll be another meeting with the Department of Corrections. There'll be more testing that's done on the sewer system. We obviously are moving forward with our infrastructure replacement work that's going on. I know the streets closed down over there from time to time right now. There will be more to come, but we're trying to solve a really long-term problem is what we've had. So. As far as other little items on the agenda, really the only other thing, we had an administrative item about sort of how we do some budgeting in town. The last thing was we voted to draft a letter of support for what we call the Smyrna Opera House. The legal name is the Smyrna Clayton Heritage Association. As the ground is being broken for the new library on Main Street. Eventually, the current library that's on the first floor of the Smyrna Opera House building will be vacated. And years ago, there was an agreement made with the Smyrna Opera House that when and if the town vacated that library space, the Opera House would have the opportunity to take it over and utilize it for more programming that's in line with their mission. That would require some significant renovations of that space. There's the hope of opening it up quite a bit more, adding in more performance space, more art space, maybe a retail area where local artists can have their work shown and sold, more classes and things like that. So really creating more of a community arts center as the first floor of that building, which would be great. But there's probably a lot of money that's going to be required in order to do that. The Opera House would like to go out to this year try and locate some of those funds, maybe through state funds, maybe through federal funds, to create that facility. And it makes life a lot easier if they know and have some sort of letter of support that says the town technically owns that building, that they have the town's permission and support to move forward with it. So there was a request submitted by Brian Hill, the executive director there. Council voted last night to approve drafting a letter of support for their efforts to move forward. That was really it. Like I said, not a terribly long public agenda for the meeting last night. Most of it, probably half of the meeting, was the Smyrna Master Parks Plan presentation. So that's the big stuff. Remember, coming up, lots of events for the holidays, everything really in the next week or so. There's a lot of stuff going on. I look like this because my calendar's right there. A lot of stuff going on in the next week or so. Obviously, things will quiet down around the actual holidays, and people are doing more things with their friends and family. So we will have one more town council meeting before the end of the year. Actually, next week we will have a second budget workshop. It's going to be on the 12th. The last one was not last week, but the week before. This was last week. We spent about 3 hours going through with the department heads. They're bringing back a lot of changes, a lot of different things, and they're going to be presenting their budgets plus the revenue projections for next year. The idea is that we should have a draft budget that we can approve on our December 18th meeting. Last year it took us a little bit longer. We approved a provisional budget, and then we've approved the final budget by the time we got into January. We're hoping to do that before the end of the year this year. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of cost increases for the town. So we will see the next round of that, and then ideally on the 18th, hopefully have an actual budget that we can approve and send back out to the people. So that's the update for this week. Hope everyone's well. Hope to see you out at some of the holiday events. As always, if you're not signed up for the Town Tidbits, go on the town website. Get yourself signed up for that. That's where you find most of the information that I shared at the beginning. And hope everybody has a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, and see you before the end of the year. Take care.